You're listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We talk with adventurers from around the globe to bring you the inspiration and motivation you need to get started in the outdoors or to keep you moving if you're already there. Now here's your host, Kurt Linville.
Hi friends, adventure is an attitude. This episode has a lot to do with that. But I want to tell you about my adventure. I just got in. It's dark outside, and I had a little afternoon adventure. I'm going to just share a couple of highlights to illustrate the point that adventure is an attitude. Adventure comes in all shapes and sizes, from the tiniest little thing that takes someone to a new experience, all the way to the massive adventures like walking around the world or running ultramarathons, climbing the 7 summits. You know, there's no limit to how big adventure can be. But adventure can also be small. My adventure today, I think, was probably smallish, medium-sized. So as you know, I'm headed to Kilimanjaro very soon to try to climb the tallest peak in Africa, which, by the way, a couple of fun facts. It is the third most prominent peak on Earth. Prominence is measured from base to summit, right? It is the biggest lone peak, meaning a peak that's not in a mountain range, and it is the highest peak in Africa. So that's Kilimanjaro. I am super duper excited, of course, to be heading that direction. It's been a more than 30-year dream of mine to summit Kilimanjaro. I've never been above the highest peak in Colorado, which is Mount Elbert at 14,400 some odd. I don't remember the exact measurement, but to be able to go to 15, 16, 17, all the way up to 19.3 plus, I am really excited to see what that feels like. Anyway, I've been trying to train for this trip, but you should probably have a little bit of the backstory. 2 years ago, I skinned up a 12,000 some odd foot peak, early spring. The snow was really off camber. My ski boots were too small, and after that trip, my foot really hurt. And then I went backpacking, and it hurt worse. And then I climbed another small mountain one night, and the next day I couldn't walk on it. I realized I probably had a stress fracture, but the weird thing is it didn't heal correctly. So it has been 2 years of trying to get my foot right, and when this Kilimanjaro opportunity came up, I mean, the adventure of a lifetime for me, I realized I've really got to get serious about getting my foot right so that I have a chance at summiting Kilimanjaro. So I started going to physical therapy, and Dave, my physical therapist, has been working with me for over 3 months to try to get my foot strong enough that I can climb. So I have only been hiking and climbing again for about the last 3 weeks. And so I'm going from being on the bench to a large degree to trying to summit Kilimanjaro. And I have to admit, that's a little bit nerve-wracking. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to be recording audio and some video while I'm up there. We'll make some episodes out of it so you can get some of the play-by-play about what it's really like to try to climb the tallest peak in Africa, 19,338 or something. So today, I said, well, I'm going to try to summit a peak that's, it's 12.4 or something like that. And it's wintertime in Colorado, of course. It is January the 4th today. And I went solo. When I got to the peak that I'd been looking at for a while, there wasn't as much snow as we would like. Colorado's been a little bit dry this year, but I was still in incredibly steep slopes. And I wasn't worried about avalanches this time. It was just much, much steeper than I anticipated. So I had given myself 4 hours to summit this mountain and get back down again. 4 hours until dark, essentially. The first challenge was I was climbing from a highway, and there were road cuts that were like 60, 80 feet tall, just cliffs. I couldn't get up. So I finally found a little couloir, a little gully that kind of went between 2 road cliffs, and it was so steep. As I started climbing up it, I ended up with a short glissade right back down again. I just couldn't get up it. And so I pulled out some trekking poles that I could, get some purchase into some dirt under the snow, and I managed to get up the steep part between these 2 road cuts. And then I thought, okay, it'll be okay. I'm in a gully. I just had to get out of this gully and it won't be steep anymore. No, I was wrong. It was extraordinarily steep. I think this is the steepest continuous winter climb that I've attempted. And it was kind of real mountaineering. I mean, this is not just a hike up a trail. There was no trail. It's wintertime. I don't even know if a trail exists on this peak. So I'm going through a lot of deadfall, climbing over logs. The snow at times is over my gaiters, and at other times is at my ankles. It's just very variable, but very, very slippery, so steep. And so I just kept on chugging up the mountain one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And I was surprised it just never got less steep. I finally got up on a shoulder, and I said, okay, now it'll start to be doable, right? Because I got up on the shoulder from all of this steep terrain, and then the shoulder got steeper and just went straight up again. After 2 hours of extraordinarily strenuous climbing, slipping and sliding and climbing and clawing for every inch, I was out of time. Word to the wise, set your turnaround time and stick to it. I was almost to the point where I would have broken out of the trees and it would have gotten less steep. There was a long shoulder and then the summit. So I ran out of time. And I thought, you know what? I have hiked out of these places in the dark. I've done it several times. I don't need that kind of an experience, tripping over these deadfall logs everywhere, no trail to walk on. So I obeyed the first rule of mountaineering. When I got to my turnaround time, I turned around. So after 2 solid hours, which I thought would get me to the summit, but no way on this mountain. After 2 solid hours of climbing, I was back at the car in 45 minutes. I know that sounds crazy, but as I was going down, I was skiing on my hiking boots. I mean, it was just slip sliding away all the way down this mountain. So every step covered like 3 steps of the hike up. And so it was quick. I got back down to the truck. I came home, and now I'm producing a podcast. But I shared that because that was a medium-sized adventure, a solo winter mountaineering attempt. Not a big mountain, but it ended up being a bigger bite than I could chew today, at least that I could chew and get home in the daylight. And here's the good news. My foot injury, while it hurt a little bit, I never had to limp. It got a little sore, but I never got to the point of, oh no, I'm in trouble. So maybe Kilimanjaro is doable. We'll see. So that was today's adventure. It's a lifestyle, and it's an attitude. Today's guest is Mel Peddle, and we talk a lot about the idea of just kind of living more adventurously, taking the time to experience things that you could have easily just passed right on by, but taking the time to do the thing. And it may not always even be athletic. Sometimes it's just a new experience. I'm certain that you're going to enjoy this one with Mel. And also, the group of guys who are climbing Kilimanjaro are all doing it as a fundraiser to try to build awareness and financial support for the nonprofit We See Hope. We See Hope takes care of impoverished and homeless children in Africa. They've already changed 850,000 lives, and we want to see this get bigger and bigger and bigger and make a real solid difference in the world. So we're raising $1 a foot. You've heard this before, $1 a foot. We're rounding up, so it's $20,000 per climber. There are 15 of us. That would be $300,000. As of today, we're at about half that amount, almost. We have raised $142,000 out of the $300,000 goal, and the fundraising doesn't stop just because we go and attempt the mountain. The fundraising is a commitment that we've all made to make a difference for We See Hope and to make a difference in the world. So we're still going for that. The Adventure Sports Podcast fundraiser. We have raised, please hold, scrolling, $3,601. And I'm really happy about that. Thank you very, very much for your generous support. We're still about $16,399 shy of the goal, but hey, I think we're going to get there. Sometime, someplace, somehow. The dream lives on. $20,000 from the Adventure Sports Podcast. And from me, for We See Hope. We can do this. More information in the show notes if you're interested in being a part of this effort. And now on with the episode. This is going to be a really fun episode for me, and I think that you'll like it too. And I'm going to introduce this episode by reminding you of a prior episode, actually a couple of them. Back at the end of June, almost July, I did a solo episode, which I called The Value of Family Adventure. It was 1085. And in that, I talked about lots of different types of adventures that people can do and families can do that are closer to home and simpler, and ways to introduce yourself to new sports. There was another one that I did way earlier that was parallel to that, and that one was called Adventures You Can Do, and that one's from like 6 years ago, and I don't know the episode number. But here's the reason I wanted to mention that. Our guest today is Mel Peddle, and Mel is a dear friend. Her husband is a friend of my wife and I, and they're wonderful people. And when Mel heard the episode, The Value of Family Adventure, she told me to put my money where my mouth is. And so we ended up doing an adventure that was actually listed in that episode. But more importantly, Mel and her husband, David, who goes by Muffin, she can explain that one. Mel and Muffin have a lifestyle that's full of what I would call mini adventures, doable adventures, adventures that are approachable. And they have their eyes open and looking for things and opportunities, and they have had some crazy, crazy experiences. So this is going to be a smorgasbord of adventure talk with Mel. Mel, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I kind of laugh, Mel, because I know you well. And if everybody knew you the way I knew you, they'd be laughing too, because you're just such a fun person. And here's an example. I bumped into Mel a couple, 3 years ago, and I said, "Wow, what are you up to, Mel?" And she said, "Pickleball." I said, "What do you mean pickleball?" She goes, I'm really focused on pickleball right now." But here's the thing. Mel and Muffin started a pickleball night, and the next thing you know, there are a dozen, maybe 15 people showing up, maybe 20 people showing up every week to play pickleball, and it became a big deal that's lasted for years. So when Mel says that she is focused on something, then it often turns into a whole lot more. Here's another one, Mel. This is how I got to know you, I think, especially well. Mel and Muffin started a mountain biking evening right after work. I believe it was on Wednesdays. Anybody who wanted to come, we would meet up and just go on a mountain bike ride. And I met dozens of people by mountain biking with Mel and Muffin. And I love the way that they are so inclusive in the things that they do. And anyway, so Mel, I'm going to start asking you questions. I think you actually have a lot that you can teach us about how to live that kind of a life. First of all, tell people who you are, where you are, and how you ended up here.
My name is Mel Peddle. I live in Gunnison, Colorado. It's very nice here, but don't tell anyone else about it.
The secret.
It's a secret. And I ended up here. My husband and I we were living in North Carolina at the time, and we took, I think, 7 vacations in a row to visit friends in Crested Butte. At some point, we thought we should just move to Crested Butte, and we did. And Crested Butte wasn't for us, but Gunnison's much more our scene, which is just down the road from Crested Butte. So that was pretty lucky that we landed in Gunnison like we did.
You know, I should probably kind of explain just a touch of what that means. Crested Butte is wonderful. It's one of the most beautiful mountain towns in all of Colorado. It's much more beautiful than a lot of the well-known mountain towns. They just have better view sheds in all directions. They have a world-class, super techy ski resort, and they have all the things that go along with being a resort town, including all the tourists and all of the expense and all of the fun things. And Gunnison is more of a ranching community that goes back 150 years or more, and it has a year-round community, and it's the town down the valley from the resort town is the way I think of it. And Gunnison is amazing in its own right, and I'll let Mel tell you more about that. But that's kind of the contrast, is that Crested Butte is wonderful. I think we all love it. But Gunnison feels like home to me.
Yeah, it's much more of a functional town. It has a hospital, it has the grocery stores, it has the airport.
University.
And the university, yeah. And Crested Butte has, a grocery store that's pretty expensive, and I'm not sure what other functional things it has there.
It has several bars.
A lot of restaurants and bars. So, yeah.
It has good Nordic skiing in addition to alpine skiing and world-class mountain biking on both ends of the valley.
For sure.
on both ends of the valley. It just doesn't matter. It's amazing. But that's not what we gathered here today to discuss, Mel. So should we just lead out with a whitewater snorkeling adventure?
Yeah, that was great. So I was listening to the Adventure Sports podcast, and Kurt, you mentioned whitewater snorkeling in a stream in Oklahoma, rather snorkeling in a stream in Oklahoma
Right.
at some point in your past. And I thought that'd be kind of fun. I haven't really snorkeled in a stream before. I really enjoy snorkeling. And so I was over at your house and I told you that I had my wetsuit ready and when were we going to go snorkeling in the river? And you didn't have your a wetsuit, so I sent you my link on Amazon for the wetsuit I had just gotten, and then you got your wetsuit, and we went. It's just that the river here is a little bit probably more intense than Oklahoma. I don't know much about
Yes.
Oklahoma streams, and so it was really low, so I felt comfortable going because there wasn't as much water to mess you up. So yeah, it wasn't even it was just Thursday or something. It was just a random day. It wasn't a big event or anything. Yeah, so we just met up and at my house and did a very cute walk to the river from my house.
The wetsuits and all.
Yeah, we were wearing wetsuits and tennis shoes and gloves and snorkels, and I had a bicycle helmet on because I didn't have a whitewater helmet, and you had no helmet on, which I don't know about that. And then we walked to the river and got in, and off we went. It was pretty intense going face. I was in Superman position going headfirst down the river, and there's a lot of your hindbrain that does not want you to do that. So that was a very difficult for me to get over in the first, I don't know, 10 minutes or so.
Well, I had snorkeled in lakes and ponds and streams and creeks and rivers in various places, including Florida. And once, one of my favorites, Mel, that was very similar, was in Florida when we went scuba diving down a clear river. And before we got in the water, we saw alligators, we saw all sorts of fish, gar and things like that. And then we got in the water and scuba dived down this river for several miles with the alligators, and it was one of the most amazing experiences because you get the illusion of flight.
Yeah.
I think with scuba diving, you get the feeling of weightlessness. But then when you add a moving current like a river, it causes you to soar, and you're soaring over the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And so we did the Gunnison River, and since it was running kind of low, we didn't have a lot of water, so it wasn't as much soaring, and I was surprised the visibility was good, but not great. And we could see, 6, 8 feet maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe something like that. But most people, they hear of whitewater snorkeling, and they probably think that's not a thing. And I guess it's not, but we did it. There are class 3 drops on the river, and I'm just going to share this one, and then I want to hear your impressions as well. But I'm going down the river, and I'm looking for fish, and the rocks are just you get the illusion of going way faster than you are. So the rocks are flying by, right? And you're soaring over them. And I think, I wonder where Mel is. So I raise up my head just in time to see you wash over a class 3 drop that I don't think you knew was there. and
Yeah.
and you have a black wetsuit. So, I mean, to me, this is hilarious because I was there. But you have to use your imaginations a little bit if you weren't there. So you look up, and if you've ever seen a seal slide across the ice and then drop into a hole in the ice, if you've seen that video of the seal just kind of splooshing into the water, that's exactly what it looked like. And so Mel just all of a sudden vanished in this class 3 hole. and then she popped up a little bit later with a surprised look on her face. So anyway, Mel, that's one of my memories that I thought was really hilarious. I just really enjoyed that.
It was pretty interesting. As we were going, I felt like I was getting better at snorkeling because I could do a little skull with my hands to pop my ears up above the water. And with my ears above the water, I could hear for upcoming rapids instead of always having to pop my head all the way up and
Right.
look up because that kind of hurts your neck after a while and you're missing the snorkeling. So I think that was pretty helpful to learn about upcoming rapids. And to be fair, there was only a couple rapids where we went.
Right. It wasn't big.
Yeah, it was a 2-mile stretch that was pretty calm. We have both done it on boats before multiple times. But yeah, I think we surprised 2 fishermen, and then one boat ignored us and the other boat was pretty interested. And, oh, what are you seeing? So that was pretty fun.
Well, speaking of what we see, I thought it was funny because right away I started seeing fish, and then I asked Mel, "Wow, did you see those fish?" And she raises up her head and looks at me, and her mask is fogged over, completely white, and she goes, "No, I didn't see it." And so going a little bit further down, I saw some more fish, and I thought she had to have seen those. And so I said, Mel, did you see those fish?" She raises her head up, and her mask is completely fogged over. I didn't see a thing. And then at some point, about halfway down the river, you started seeing fish. But we did see some amazing things, and that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why we did it. You start to get a feel for the aquatic environment in a freshwater river. That's actually very cool, right? And there's all sorts of things. I saw rainbow trout, 18 inchers that probably weighed 3 pounds or more. I saw schools of rainbow trout. I also saw some whitefish, and I'm convinced that I saw a lake trout, which is completely out of place because they're usually that time of the year very, very deep in the lake. They'd be like 90 feet down in the reservoir. So I don't know why it would be up in the river, but that
Yeah.
kind of surprised me. But that's kind of the fun. And what was interesting is with the limited visibility, there are lots of surprises.
Yeah, like rocks.
Talk about the surprises, what that was like.
Yeah, there was you're face down and you have your hands in front of you so that when you hit a rock you can kind of just leapfrog over it, leapfrog motion, slide over it like a seal. And dark shadow of the rock also kind of gave you a hint that there was a big rock coming up and to avoid it. But there was a couple of times where there was a dark shadow with no rock and that was a tree or something like that on the bank. And so I kept trying to
Right.
avoid the rock, but I could never find it to avoid it. But I would say the biggest surprise for me was how deep the holes were in the river. Because the river's, I don't know, a foot deep. And then there'd be a hole that was 8, 10, 12 feet deep. Like it was just huge. I don't know much about river hydrodynamics, but I thought that was really interesting.
And the other thing, so we have the illusion of flight, limited visibility. The water was cold. The wetsuits made it possible, but they did not keep me warm. I don't know
Yeah,
about
I was
you.
freezing. Yeah.
So that was an experience. But it was also just weird to lay on your stomach and have that much movement, because when else in life do we lay on our stomach and have that kind of movement? Maybe if you're a base jumper in a squirrel suit, but what other sports do we lay on our stomachs and go?
Yeah, I don't know, hang gliders or something. Same idea. But with that, we were both motion sick when we got out.
Yeah.
So we got out and the world was not moving that fast. And then at that point is when we got motion sick. I wasn't motion sick in the river, but when we got out and we were at the car at the bottom, I was pretty pretty queasy.
Yeah, they people have different words for it. Like in the sailing community, I'm trying to remember what it's not dock shock, but it's something like that. It's dock
Mhm.
sickness. It's when you step off the boat that you feel sick. And
Yeah,
that was
land
kind of,
legs, I've heard.
yeah, land legs. That works. Anyway, it was a crazy thing to do, but here's just kind of the point. Had you ever done anything like that before?
No.
Was it a life experience you never expected to have?
Yes. And it was so
And
fun.
it was fun. It wasn't big. It wasn't hard. I mean, the barrier to entry was I had to get a wetsuit,
Right.
right? But would you do it again?
Yeah. I'd be scared, but I'd do it again.
What's scary about it?
Going head first down a river, like there's so much in protecting your spine that your brain doesn't want you to be going head first down a river.
And by the way, Mel has taught biomechanics, and she's a mechanical engineer, so she really understands that side of it a lot. But even
Right.
more so, this is something I'm going to share, Mel, and I know you're not looking for extra clients, but Mel is the best therapy massage person I have ever heard of or ever met in the world. And she changes lives by giving deep, painful, excruciating massages.
Right.
So she really, really understands biomechanics, so I understand why you would be thinking about the spine and wondering where my helmet was.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we ate regular meals. We didn't have to do like the freeze dry meal or anything. Because it was a 15-minute walk from my house to start the adventure.
Yep.
Earlier in the day, I had rode my bike. I'd done a slight 30 minutes worth of prep work. And then we were both able to go home and shower and sleep in our beds. And every adventure that I do, especially now, is I have to have a hot shower and a nice place to sleep. So that eliminates a lot of the adventures that maybe come up on this podcast quite a bit, like the camping and the hiking and backpacking and things like that.
The extended backcountry anything probably wouldn't be on the list. And I mentioned this before we hit record. I feel the same way. I have to sleep well, which means my sleep system might be extra heavy when I go backpacking, but I care about that. And I also have to stay clean. I can't rough it for day after day without bathing. So I do bathe in the backcountry, and it's cold, and it is shocking, and it's what makes it possible for me. Because if I don't feel clean, I'm not happy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. So I agree. Hot shower. I could probably give up a hot shower if it was really, really cool, but I'd still need some sort of shower. And the other part that I really is kind of been my theme is trying to adventure where you are. So I could, go to South Africa and do something fun, but I'm not close. And it's a long plane ride. And I don't know. When we lived in California, we went to Hawaii several times, but we haven't been to Hawaii since we left California. And when we were in North Carolina, we went to Europe a couple times because it was closer on that side. And since we've been in Colorado, it's kind of hard to take a vacation from where we live because everywhere else isn't nearly as cool. Just doing stuff around here is pretty good, like the whitewater snorkeling. And then a couple weekends ago, I drove 6 hours to St. George, Utah, and participated in a dinosaur dig and found a dinosaur fossil that I got to help jacket so they could take it back to the museum for
no
further
way.
study.
What
Yeah.
did you find?
They don't know, which is
Oh,
part of why they're taking it back. But it was a clump of fossils all together, and there was a shark tooth, a few fish scales, and then something bigger that they weren't sure. And I guess when you have a clump of fossils together, that means something more than just sporadic fossils. So I got to help jacket that whole area, and they're taking it back to the museum. So my name might be on the museum in St. George.
awesome. And I mean, maybe it was the contents of the shark that fossilized into a
Right.
ball.
Yeah.
That something in the shark's stomach. I mean, who knows? That's really cool though. Hey friends, I want to take a minute to tell you about Campfire Ranch. My friend Sam started Campfire Ranch several years ago, and his goal, his mission, is to energize places by creating meaningful human experiences in the outdoors. At all of the Campfire Ranch locations, from their campgrounds to trailside lodges to backcountry huts, their goal is to help you stay in the place and in the way that you want so that you can spend more time getting out there and getting after it. Campfire Ranch Little Sugar is a trailside lodge located in Bella Vista, Arkansas, just north of Bentonville, the mountain bike capital of the world. The lodge features 7 private bedrooms with ensuite bathrooms and communal spaces for gathering, meeting with others, and relaxing after a long day on the trails. Little Sugar has immediate access to 160 plus miles of public trails designed for mountain biking, gravel biking, trail running, and hiking. And it also has easy access to the food, art, and music scene of downtown Bentonville. So grab some buddies and go to www.campfireranch.co/ASP. That's not .com, it's .co/ASP, and you'll get 15% off nightly base rates at Little Sugar in Bella Vista, Arkansas. And this opportunity is valid all the way through 2026. But you know how these things go. Your weekend is going to fill up quickly, so go right now to campfireranch.co/ASP to plan your big adventure. All right, so let's just use this as an example. You just kind of out of the blue, which is what Mel does. Out of the blue, she says, and I went on a dinosaur dig. So you find these things that people wouldn't necessarily think about, and you do them. When other
Right.
people don't think about doing them and they miss out on the opportunity.
Right.
How on earth did you find a way to go on a dinosaur dig?
Well, I think Facebook has a a feed that they know.
But you had
They
to
have.
look. What gave you
Well,
the idea?
no, there was like an advertisement for it on Facebook, but I'm
Really?
sure my Facebook feed knows that I read all the dinosaur articles that come out, so it served it to me. But yeah, there's several things that people say, "Oh, wouldn't that be cool if I did
Right.
that?"
Yeah.
And I think, yes, it would. And you can pay $50 and do it. And that part doesn't ever happen. So I've been really intentional about trying to make sure that if I think, wouldn't it be cool if, that I actually follow through or do something like it later, or just make sure that it happens so that I'm not saving all of the adventures for later. I don't know when later happens for other people, but I get nervous, so I try to do them now.
You know, I have a friend, Mel, that you've not met named Bill. I don't think you've met Bill.
Mm-mm.
And Bill decided he wanted to see the aurora borealis. So he became a Northern Lights chaser.
Cool.
And that's another example that I think of. People come up with an idea and they're like, why shouldn't I go, look for such and such or try to have this experience? And that's what you're talking about.
Hmm.
But I didn't know this about Bill until just recently. And I was like, really? So he's gone to Alaska a few times. He's always looking for ways to get far enough north. But north came to us a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we couldn't see the curtains of green that dance, right? But we saw some amazing red and green glows. Did you get out and
Mhm.
see any of it?
Yeah, yeah, it was really. I mean, the thing about Northern Lights, and I don't know if you go to the real Northern Lights if it's the same thing, but you can see them so much better if you take a picture.
Yeah.
Like the picture enhances the color quite a bit.
Well, there are only so many photons you can collect on your retina, and they just, they bounce off your retina and disappear. But as soon as you take a camera out there, you can have a 10-second exposure or something like that. Instead of milliseconds, you can gather so much more light with a
Mm.
camera. You can see things. And so, anyway, I don't know where that came from, but it's just an example of saying, wouldn't it be interesting if, and here's another one that you did, maybe we can talk about bioluminescence.
Yeah, I really like bioluminescence. Growing up,
What is it?
I
First
it's
of
a
all,
chemical reaction that the animal kingdom uses to either attract prey or mates. But growing up, we chased fireflies all the time. Some of my fondest summer memories growing up was chasing fireflies. Really, really like fireflies. And then from that, I just got into bioluminescence and how bioluminescence works. I went and saw the glowworms in New Zealand. And then at some point, I found out about the bioluminescence in Puerto Rico. So there's a bay in Puerto Rico that is situated in the exact right direction for the currents to bring in bioluminescent, I think it's plankton. So I had that on my radar for quite a while. We were trying to figure out what we wanted to do for winter break last year, and we didn't have a whole lot of time, but we were already in Louisiana. And so we got a plane from Louisiana to Puerto Rico, and then you have to get on another plane from mainland and quote unquote mainland Puerto Rico, the main island of Puerto Rico, to an outlying island called Vieques. And that was a very small plane. But you get over to Vieques and then, yeah, we just rented a car and there's 5 tour companies there. You cannot go by yourself. You have to go with a tour company. And there was a glass bottom boat one, so we just paid the $50 or whatever it was. And yeah, it was amazing. You get in your glass bottom boat and they're all scratched up and they look like they are not useful. But once they're in the water, I guess the water like fills in all the scratches, so
yeah.
you can't tell that it's scratched. But yeah, we were out paddling, and when you stuck your paddle in, there would be any disturbance from the water, it lights up. The plankton lights up into this bright blue. So we're paddling out, we're going fast, and the bottom of the boat looks like an old tea that has the snow all over it. So that was pretty cool. And then we get out there and they give us a little talk about science and biology and things like that. And then let us paddle around for a little bit by ourselves. And so my husband was steering and we were going kind of on our own by ourselves, and we startled a school of fish, and they went every which way under our boat. It was so cool. And then we saw a big fish chasing a little fish under the boat because we just sat in our boat and watched. We didn't go anywhere. We just sat in the boat and was watching for the blue in the water. So we had an hour out there. I could have spent, I don't know, all night out there. It was
Wow.
amazing. So yeah, highly recommend VAKs. You probably have to spend the night there just because of the timing with the getting to and from mainland Puerto Rico, but I wouldn't really spend much more time than maybe 2 days there. It wasn't super interesting on that island. Puerto Rico itself probably has a lot more, but we did a 3 or 4 days on VACs, and we didn't need to be there that long.
A little bit extra. I actually interviewed a guy that runs a charter sailing service out of Vieques, or he did at the time. And I thought, if I went there, I would have to do things like that. Because
Hmm.
the island is small, and you're going to exhaust it fairly quickly. It is known for some really cool beaches, different types of beaches and things, and for the bioluminescence. You think about bioluminescence to give people an idea what you're talking about. It may not be quite this extreme, but think about Pandora and Avatar, the movie. You know, they're walking through the foreign alien jungle at night and everything glows and spins and flashes. It may not be that extreme, but still super duper cool, especially because it's real.
Yeah.
So these are just examples of, oh, here's an idea, let's do something about it. I think people just they get the idea and they think it's not practical, or well, that it's maybe it's not that great, but you're the type of person that says, no, I'm going to go see it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go home and sleep in a real bed. Doesn't have to be my bed, just a real bed with a shower.
Well, okay. I remember one of my wife's name is Ann, one of her favorite things when she meets people is to say, well, how did you guys meet and where did you get married? And she asked those sorts of questions. And the where did you get married question got us a very surprising answer I think you should tell people about.
Oh yeah. So both my husband and I aren't super into or being the center of attention or anything like that. So we decided to elope, and I wanted to elope on the summer solstice somewhere where there was a big long summer day. We were looking at all sorts of different places, and then one of our friends said, well, stay in the US. The paperwork gets a little bit trickier if you're outside of the US with the marriage certificate. So we knew we were going to Alaska to elope. So we're trying to figure out where in Alaska, and we were looking at pictures on the internet, and there was a picture of somebody that eloped in a glacier cave in Alaska. And so we thought, that sounds good. So that's what we did. I mean, we found a guy on Craigslist to scout out a glacier cave. So as the glacier's coming down and melting, it changes quite a bit. And glacier caves are actually really dangerous because they fall down on you.
Yikes.
So you don't want to go into a precarious glacier cave, but there's a glacier outside of Juneau, Alaska that you can hike to. The hike was 2 hours. We had hired this guy off Craigslist to go out and find a glacier cave and then hike us to that glacier cave, so we weren't wandering around trying to get married on a glacier. So we hired this guy off Craigslist. He led us there. I had the wedding dress in my hiking backpack, and in the water bottle holder of my backpack, I had a dozen roses and some baby's breath, and that was it for our flowers. And then we hiked. It was me, my husband, our best friend that was our officiant, a photographer, and this guy we hired off Craigslist. So out we go. We get into the glacier cave. Looks good. So I have to change. There's no place to change on the glacier. So I'm just stripping naked on a glacier, and all the people we were with were pretty nice, kept their back to me so I could get into my dress. But there's helicopters flying over doing helicopter tours.
Oh, no.
And we had gone to the visitor center in Juneau of the glacier across the lake, and the visitor center has binoculars trained on the glacier, so who knows who saw what. But I get into my wedding dress and we go inside, and it was a 4.5-minute ceremony, which was great. We took a couple more pictures, and then I changed back into my clothes and we hiked back out. On the hike back out, I had a pretty big freak out because I had too many bobby pins on my hair, and my hair was uncomfortable because I got my hair done by the guy we hired off Craigslist's girlfriend before we left. And so we all had to stop, and everybody was picking, like monkeys, they were picking bobby pins out of my hair so that I could put it into just a regular
They're
ponytail.
grooming you.
Yeah. And then, after that, we went and had lunch at a float plane restaurant, looking over the float planes going in and out of Juneau, which was fish, and I hate fish. So that was our wedding.
Wow. Not many people have a wedding story like that. And that goes with the theme I think that we have going here is that, why not pursue something different?
Yeah, why do you have to do our wedding costs with the hotels for everybody, flights for everybody, and the Craigslist guy, I think it was $3,600 or $3,800.
Wow.
And that was everything we wanted. We did not need or want anything else. I could have used a better lunch after, though.
Mel, I recently learned what the average cost of a wedding is in Colorado. 40 grand.
Wow.
40 grand.
So
you did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So you've always kind of been adventurous. I mean, in high school, you were in cross-country track. I think of trail running like that. Cross-country running is adventurous for sure.
Yeah.
You've done Ragbri several times.
Yeah.
I mean, the list of things that you've done that I think most people probably wouldn't take the time to do, but should have, right? Your list is so long that it ran off my page. bungee jumping, skydiving. What's the deal with mini golf? How is
I
this
love
adventurous?
I love mini golf. So whenever we go to a location, we might be going to VAKs to go do the bioluminescent kayak tour. But while you're there, I mean, there's lots of other time. And I just always look for mini golf because every course is different. When we were in Europe, we went to Europe for last summer and we kind of bopped around. We did, I think, 9 countries and 80 some odd days. We ended up at the Olympics, which was
Nice.
unintentional, but amazing. Whenever we have a few hours, I'm always looking to do a mini golf, and I just love to do mini golf. One time, my husband and I when we were in North Carolina, we had an afternoon to kill, and so we decided to go do some mini golf. And you have to do a bet. Otherwise, mini golf isn't as fun. So the bet was whoever won the mini golf got to quit their job in the
No
next
way.
year. We both were, we were okay. Like, it was fine at our jobs, but it wasn't anything that we were passionate about on either side. It was just a means to an end. So the deal was whoever won got to quit. And I had the game of my life, Kurt. I was ahead by 6 strokes with 2 holes left.
No way. You're going to
But
quit your job.
but then we tied. And
Oh,
so
no. And now you're homeless, right?
yeah. So we tied, neither of us quit our job, and then life went on. But that was a pretty fun game, pretty intense. There was a lot of tension on that game.
So a mini golf can be much more adventurous than you think if the stakes are high enough.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know what qualifies as an adventure, but they advertise it as adventure mini golf
Well, there
lots of the
you go.
time.
Yeah, because there's a fake volcano and
Right.
there's some sort of a dinosaur that's going to swallow your ball.
Well, yeah.
It just kind of cracks me up. So here's the themes that I'm picking up on. You said you got to sleep in a bed, you want a warm shower, you need to adventure close to home. Of course, we've been talking about adventures you've done overseas, but what are
Yeah.
other adventures that you've done close to home?
I mean, we do go mountain biking all the time here, and we've seen some pretty crazy stuff. This summer we were mountain biking and we almost ran into moose. So that was a little exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. We were kind of coming down, and then there was a turn at the bottom of it was a slight downhill, and then you went up. And they were just at that very edge of that turn. And so I actually didn't see them. My husband had gotten off his bike and the quiet signal and pointed at them, but they're just munching in the grass on the side. So that's pretty fun. I do pickleball on Monday nights in Gunnison. So
Everybody come to Gunnison and play
come
pickleball with
join
Mel.
on Monday nights in Gunnison. We have a good crew. And then one thing I picked up recently is actually during COVID is when I found it, but it's speed jigsaw puzzling. So that is jigsaw puzzle races online. And then a couple times a year I'll go somewhere and do that with real people. But basically there's a guy that sends out a jigsaw puzzle, the same one to everybody that's doing the race, and you get online and on Zoom, and first one done wins. So I really enjoy that. I don't know, my husband and I we go to Ouray quite a bit and go to the hot tubs. And we went in April last year, which is kind of a funny time to go to Ouray. Nobody goes to Ouray in April. It's not.
Except for people that are local, like you.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So we stayed at a new hotel, and that was, what an adventure, right? A different bed. But the hotel was in a corner of Ouray that we hadn't really been in. And we were in the hotel, and I was on Google Maps just looking at what Google Maps had around us. And there was a little green, I think it was Box Canyon Falls or something. It was right behind us. And so I said, well, we got a couple hours to kill. Let's go check it out. And my husband and I don't like hiking, but we did for that day. I don't know. And so we go, and it is the coolest waterfall I've ever seen in my life. It was a very tight canyon, and it was cold, so there was ice everywhere. There's ice coating we got to see the ice. Ouray is really big for ice climbing. The ice climbing stuff had already been shut down because it was too warm, but we got to see where they had ice climb that winter. And then, I don't know, it was just a really, really interesting hike, and it was just an hour, and it cost us nothing because while Box Canyon Falls does charge for entry, they don't charge for entry during off season.
When no one's there.
And no one was there. So in we went. It was a great adventure. And then we ended up bringing my husband's family, 2 different parts of them, to go see the falls that summer just because they were so impressive. We had to pay for those ones, but that's okay.
It is pretty crazy. I've been there, Mel, and just to describe it, it's like a slot canyon that's,
Hmm.
I don't know, 150, 200 feet deep. And it in places it's probably no more than 15 feet wide, 12 feet maybe. And the
Yeah.
water that comes down there through that canyon, especially in the runoff, maybe June. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it. I
It
mean,
is.
you can't really describe it. It's just a wow.
Yeah, and you can't it's if you get into that back corner, you can't hear your thoughts because the water is so loud coming down.
Yes.
It's really cool. You raise another town that we should probably talk about.
No, it's a secret.
Yeah. But, we love, hot tubs and hot springs and hot water. So we did a mountain biking trip to the Pacific Northwest in our car this summer for a month, and we stopped at a bunch of different hot springs all across the Pacific Northwest, which was great. When we were in North Carolina, we did a lot of adventures close to home. In North Carolina, they have Smithsonian museums that are free because they're part of the Smithsonian whatever. I think there's 4 or 5 state museums. So we went and saw all those museums, and we saw some really crazy stuff that happened on the beach. We had bioluminescent on the beach one night. We were sleeping in our car on a bed after we'd taken the shower at the local rec center. Um, and we couldn't sleep because the bugs had gotten into the car. These tiny, tiny little sandflies had gotten through our
No.
mosquito netting. So we couldn't sleep. So we went out to the beach and we saw the Milky Way, just so impressive. And then we noticed that wherever we walked, the sand would glow.
No
So there was
way.
something funny in the sand. I don't know what. So that was pretty cool. We did not sleep good though, so that wasn't great. But we saw where what's that pirate bird got shot, which is not near as overbuilt as it should be. It's a small hike, and you kind of have to guess where he got shot. We found, I think it was near Fort Fisher, there was evidence that the Germans had actually fired upon mainland U.S. during World War II, even though the U.S. government says we never got fired on. But they had like 4 or 5 cannonballs that had made it to the shore there. I learned about the civilian air patrol at a museum, and it was fascinating during World War II again. I don't know. I really like to adventure where we are and get to know what's happening around. Just a weekend, and you're not investing a lot, and you don't know what else is out there.
I think you may have moved to the weekend adventure capital of the planet, one of them. I mean, the nickname for Gunnison is the base camp of the Rockies, and it's called that for a reason because you can do any mountain sport. It doesn't matter what it is. You can do any mountain sport from here within a very short drive, if not just right here itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're in the right place for that. People ask me where I like to go on vacation, and I actually kind of hedge a little bit, and I say, well, if I didn't live in Gunnison, it would be my favorite vacation destination.
Right.
So it's hard for me to leave. It's like, I like it here. We can do so many things.
Yeah, the trick with Gunnison is that you have to really pick your sports, because you don't have enough garage space, you don't have enough
Right.
recreation money to get all the gear for all the sports, and then you also don't have enough, like, physical energy throughout your day to do all the sports. You have to pick your sports, and you have to pick your winter sport, and you have to pick your summer sports, and then you're always out of shape in Gunnison because the next sport is always on the horizon, and so you're always having to build muscle and having to get in shape for that next sport because the seasons change. It's great. I love it.
It is fun. Mountain biking it gives you the best cardio workout ever. And of course, you get really good at making your feet go in circles.
Right. Yeah.
That's really what it is, and upper body. But then the ski season starts, and you think, I've been going hard all summer. I'm going to be in great shape for skiing. And then that's a totally different use of your leg muscles completely. And I get on the slopes, and I'm like, oh my word. I
Yeah.
thought I was in shape, but it's kicking my butt. You're right. So many things. And there are a lot of fun things in this valley that people don't know about. They have interdisciplinary or intersport type races. For instance,
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
one where people will ski mountaineer. So you ski to the top of a mountain and race back down again. And then you jump in a kayak and you go down the river in a kayak and you race down the kayak. And I think you can even add a mountain biking race on top of that. But there are all sorts of things like that people put together.
Yeah.
Where
Isn't there
they're
one from the top of Mount Crested Butte to taking a shot at a bar? Isn't that one of the races?
I'm sure it is.
Whoever finishes the shot wins. And one year there was a base jumper that jumped off the mountain instead of skiing down the mountain like they had
And they
intended.
won.
They won by 6 hours or something.
There's also a chainless race. Do they
Oh
still
yeah.
do it?
Yeah, I've wanted to go. Yeah, I haven't been to it. I need to go see that this year.
I've heard people say it's incredibly dangerous, but they take the chain off their mountain bikes and they go up on a high mountain pass and then they race down. And since you can't pedal, then it gives you the motivation to take corners way too fast.
Right, because you can't speed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there's all that kind of stuff. I want to tell another one on you, Mel. This
Mhm.
doesn't sound like an adventure sport, but it leans that direction, and let me say why. One of the things I say about adventure sports all the time is that it ends up being about the community, the people that you meet, the fun you have. Like pickleball, your pickleball night, it's really fun to play pickleball, but it's not really about pickleball.
Right.
It's about
Yeah.
all these great people who show up that you become friends with.
Hmm.
And what a beautiful thing to do for the community when you and Muffin started this thing. People that I had never met became acquaintances or friends, and it's just so super cool. So anyway, this is one I had never heard of, and I found out that you do this every year. You and Muffin go to a board game convention. And I know that people are like, that's not an adventure sport, but it is about the community and something different.
Yeah.
And so anyway, tell us about that.
Yeah. So there's several board game conventions throughout the year. We only go to one, and we go with a group of people. So the reason we go to this specific one is because of the people that go. And these are the only time we see these people of the year. So it's a great time to spend time with other people. And, sometimes you're a space explorer. I mean, you can, depending on what board game you're playing. I'm a cheese maker. There's a cheese making one that's pretty fun called Fromage. But, there's one that, anyway, that doesn't really matter. But we get to hang out with all of our friends, and then while it isn't rough and tough, and I get really tired because my brain is working the whole time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, the weight room is quite open at the hotel that we stay at during the the board game convention. But whether it's an adventure or not, it's a good way. I see a lot of people that I don't normally see in the activities that I do that are in different, they have a wheelchair, or they have some other physical handicaps or even mental handicaps that may not be able to do stuff with your bodies out and about in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. But this is another way that people can get out and do things and have community and meet with people. So
Yeah, have a ton of fun. And how many days is it? You play board games for
5 days.
5 days of board games. So most people think of a board game as, well, once a month the family might, if we all agree, get together and play Scrabble one night.
Right.
But you're
Yeah.
doing 5 full days of board games?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I got a new board game for the next board game night, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, I don't know. We play board games and eat barbecue, and it's a great 5-day adventure.
Well, speaking of barbecue, I have to share this one because it's meant so much to me. Muffin and I were mountain biking, and we stopped at the top of a hill, and we're visiting a little bit before we took this downhill. And I said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to try to find the best hot wings in Gunnison. And Muffin, it's probably why he married you, Mel. He was like, oh yeah, let's do it. He's in. And it
Yeah.
was a small thing. But what that led to is that we have met and had wings in a half a dozen to a dozen locations, but we've had all those evenings to visit and to laugh and
Yeah.
to give each other a hard time and to learn from each other why? Because we had an excuse. Hot wings. I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been the best ribs. It could have been whatever.
Yeah.
But whenever you set some sort of a goal like that, it becomes a thing that gets you there. And I think that's what the board game convention is about. I mean, some people just really love board games, and I think you might be one of them. But I think so many people that would go there would be like, no, I just really love the event. It's the people,
Yeah.
it's doing something completely different.
Yeah. It's a day that I don't know. It's just something different. Yeah. It's not part of your regular day.
Hmm.
And my husband is that he's very keen on keeping his eyes open for something that is an adventure that maybe we weren't on the way to do. So we were in Belize. We were going to this pizza place in Belize, and there's an advertisement for night snorkeling. And
Wow.
yeah, so we signed up and we went night snorkeling, and it was terrifying in a couple different ways. We were the only two on the boat. We were getting taken out into the ocean by two people we didn't know that didn't speak English very well. And going out at night into the ocean with two people you don't know is a little bit scary in a foreign country. And then there's a part of your hindbrain that does not want you to get into the ocean at night. There's, I don't know,
Right.
something. Yeah. But we saw really cool fish that you don't get to see because I guess there's nocturnal fish or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great experience, and they took us back to shore, and we paid them, and we left, and it was fun. But he's just really good about saying, "Oh, I saw, why don't we do that? Why not?" We were in North Carolina one time, and there was a museum, and it was kind of late in the day, and I was kind of tired, and I didn't really want to go, but we were pretty far from home. And he's like, "Well, if we don't go now, we aren't going to go. Why don't we just go?" And it was all about the people that came over to found America, and then they disappeared. The Roanoke colony.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that was kind of the basis of it. And then it was just a great day. And I talked about pirates with the guy that was on the pirate ship, and him and I had a really good conversation about North Carolina pirates. And it was something that we wouldn't have done. And it was just something that my husband said, "Well, why don't we just try it and see what happens?" And we weren't even going there for that reason. So he's really, really good about just keeping his eyes open and looking for fun things to do to supplement our current adventure.
How do you make room in your life for spontaneity?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not very good at it. My husband's way better. I live and die by my calendar. And so yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
Maybe it's the combination of your planning that gets you somewhere and his spontaneity that makes something unexpected happen.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I don't know. I get so focused. I just get so focused. I'm driving to the grocery store. I get to the grocery store. I do my grocery shopping, and he will go to the grocery store and he'll see three different people that we know along the way and say hi. And then when he's at the grocery store, he sees a couple more people, and I don't see anybody. And it's just because I don't have my eyes open that way. I don't know what it is
Yeah.
about his awareness, but he's way more aware about the outside world. And I am looking at my calendar, making sure we're getting to where we need to go by a certain time, and that we have a 3 hour space here. And it's a really good combination.
Well, and different people approach life in different ways, and there's not a wrong way and a right way. They're just different ways. You told me a while back that you kind of felt like when it came to adventure and your lifestyle that you were a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I don't know. I listen to the podcast, and there's people that are. I'm a raft guide, and I've been rafting, and I've been doing rafting, and I know a lot about rivers and rafting, and that is really cool. And I love to have dinner with those people because I have a lot of questions about rafting,
Right.
or whatever. And then there's people that are really into biking, or people that are really into running or something. And I just feel like I am very open to wherever the wind blows me, and I'm not good at a lot of things that I do, so I often pay for a guide or whatever, but I just like to experience all of it.
How has that changed your life, you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I get the
It's just
feeling you've always been this way.
yeah, I don't know that it changed my life. It's just how it is.
See, the reason I ask it is that there's so many people when we describe the kind of little mini adventures is what I'll call them, that you do such a huge variety. There's so many people that are going, wow, I've never done that. Well, who would have thought of that? What's that about? And I think it would change people's lives if they
Yeah.
said, I'm going to be like Mel for a little while. I'm going to give it a shot for a few months and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I listened to a podcast one time, and I heard them describe they have on the podcast they're talking about how they have an adventure bag. So they have a change of clothes, toothbrush, snacks, and then they just keep that in the car. So some people might call it a go bag, fires or whatever, but they call it their adventure bag. So if they're off doing something, they can keep going and keep doing it. And then also on that podcast, they described how they had laminated a map of their surrounding town and had circled, or surrounding area, and had circled places where they wanted to go. So I heard that and thought, that's a great idea. And you've been at my house. We have a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of glass mounted on a wall in our house. And behind it is a map of Colorado, a map of our county, and the map of our local mountain biking place. And it's a marker board that I use, and I keep a list of things I need to do or want to go, or I circle things on the map. So Dinosaur National Monument was circled for a while, but we knocked that off this year. And so I just keep an ongoing list of things where I want to go and things that I want to do. And if it isn't on the state of Colorado or in our county, I just have a side list that has the other stuff that I want to do. That way I don't have to store it in my brain, and I don't have to, it's not stressful when it comes like, hey, I've got a week of time and I'm going to already be in Florida. What should I do? And then I can go look at my list and see what's close to Florida and just connect something to that. And so I really, really like having our map that is mounted behind the glass. I think that is a really cool use of a giant wall in our house.
I think that's such a great idea. Just the idea that you put something on the map, it takes on purpose then and
Hmm.
intention. And you do the thing that you otherwise probably would never do, because what do most people do? They watch TV or they watch
Yeah.
YouTube, or they, they get home from work and they have a beer and they put their feet up. And why? Because they haven't thought of all the other things that they could be doing.
Or they have, and then they forgot it. And so you got to keep your brain efficient. Once you already think of it, you don't need to think of it again. Just put it down where you can see it later.
I have a new one for you, okay?
Okay.
Yesterday, I interviewed Bill Foltz, and his interview probably will come out about the same time as yours. So anyway, he started a database of arches in Kentucky, finding natural arches in Kentucky and waterfalls,
Okay.
and over 3,000 arches in Kentucky. And who would have known? And now there are people that are arch hunters that go out and try to find new ones that no one knew about to add to the database. They're documenting all of these natural wonders. But the main part is people are getting out and exploring the national forest, Daniel Boone National Forest, and other places, the Red River Gorge, all these places in Kentucky. They're getting out because they have a reason to.
Right.
Is it a big deal? I don't know if it's a big deal. Is it a curiosity? Definitely a curiosity, but that's not the point. The point is they have a purpose that gets them out the door.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, oh, well, in Colorado, people do 14ers. It's similar. It's like, oh, I'll do 14ers. And one of my favorite things about 14ers is it takes you to different places in the state you wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Right.
You see things, right? It's not
Yeah.
necessarily about the 14er. It's the excuse. So this is the one I came up with for you.
Okay.
All around Gunnison County in this area, all the topography here was created by volcanoes. And because of that, we have breccia, which is a soft conglomerate that's often under basalt, and it makes towers of rock. People might call them chimneys or spires, or we call them palisades sometimes. But when I've been exploring the county, I keep running across, well, look at that. There's another, or people call it a balanced rock, right? Something like that. They're everywhere around here, but I don't think anyone has documented them. How many of them could you find in Gunnison County?
Yeah. I mean, if they're on a mountain bike trail, probably a lot.
They are here. The point is, what if a group of people use that as an excuse to explore the county and say, I'm going to hunt for balanced rocks?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
That'd be so fun. Yeah.
Anyway, these are the sorts of things. We have burned up all of our time, Mel, but I love your example of doing the mini adventures intentionally. The map on the wall. I mean, that's it. That captures the whole idea. Put the map on the wall and circle thing.
Yeah.
It could change so much about the way you experience life. And I know it has for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, any last words of advice for the listener?
Yeah, just go. So many people are worried about risk, but in the stuff that I do, I mean, some of it's risky, some of it isn't. It doesn't really matter. Probably the most risky thing we do is driving there. But
Right.
so some people will just stay inside because that's less risky. But I would say there's a counter argument that there's a risk to staying inside too. So I don't know. You only have a body for so long. You only have the current body you have for so long. The injuries, they just compound. So you got to do stuff while you can do stuff.
So the big word of advice is 2 letters. Go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, thanks, Mel, for your time. I really like the way that you put your life together. Super cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
You bet. All right, everybody out there, figure it out. It might be a dozen things an inch wide or a mile wide and an inch deep, or maybe you find the one thing you really want to pour yourself into. But regardless, get out there and have some fun.
Yeah. Go for it.